Welcome to Revenge Chronicles. Hello and welcome back to all our loyal viewers, and a warm welcome to anyone discovering our channel for the first time. Today's story comes from a woman who learned that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't about striking back, it's about finally understanding your own worth. Get ready for a tale that will make you question everything you think you know about family traditions and a mother's sacrifice that shouldn't have been a sacrifice at all. The sound of laughter drifted from the living room as I stood alone at the kitchen sink, my hands deep in sudsy water, scrubbing the remnants of Thanksgiving dinner from what felt like 100 dishes. This was my 15th year of marriage, my 15th Thanksgiving spent in this exact spot, while my husband's family gathered around the fireplace, sharing stories and creating memories I would only hear secondhand. "Mommy, why are you always washing dishes when everyone else gets to have fun?" I turned to find my 8-year-old daughter Emma standing in the doorway, her little face scrunched up in confusion. She was supposed to be with the other kids, watching the parade replay, but instead she was here, asking the question I had never dared voice myself. "Someone has to clean up, sweetheart," I said, forcing a smile. "Go back to the family room. Grandpa was telling that funny story about Uncle Mike's first turkey." "But you miss all the stories every year," Emma said, not moving. "And Aunt Sarah is just sitting there. And Cousin Jessica too. Why don't they help?" Out of the mouths of babes. My daughter had noticed in 8 years what I had been too trained to question in 15. I looked at the mountain of plates, serving dishes, and pots still waiting for me, then at my daughter's innocent face, and something inside me finally cracked. That night, after we got home, I did something I had never done before. I sat down with a notebook and started writing. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every Easter, every birthday party, every casual Sunday dinner. 15 years of standing in that kitchen while life happened in the next room. I documented everything. The 2018 Christmas where I missed Emma's first attempt to play Silent Night on the piano because I was elbow deep in turkey drippings. The 2020 Easter when my father-in-law told his war stories for what turned out to be the last time before his stroke, and I heard only fragments between the clatter of dishes. The countless family jokes and inside stories that everyone referenced but I never understood because I was always in the kitchen. But it wasn't just the missing out that bothered me. It was the expectation. The assumption. The way my sister-in-law Sarah would hand me her plate with a sweet smile and say "Thanks, you're such a blessing" before floating back to her wine and conversation. The way my mother-in-law would comment on how organized I was while she settled into her recliner. The way my husband never once suggested that maybe, just maybe, someone else could take a turn. I started paying attention to the dynamics in a way I never had before. At the next family gathering, my brother-in-law's birthday, I watched carefully. The men gathered around the TV. The women chatted on the couches. The kids played upstairs. And me? I was handed the dirty dishes without discussion, without question, like it was my job title instead of my choice. "I'll help," my teenage niece offered half-heartedly. "Oh no, Aunt Lisa has it handled," my sister-in-law said quickly. "She's so much better at it than the rest of us." Better at it. As if washing dishes required a special skill that only I possessed. I decided to run an experiment. The next gathering was my nephew's graduation party. I arrived early as always, helped set up, but when dinner was over, I did something revolutionary. I stayed in my seat. The awkwardness was immediate and palpable. Plates sat on the table. People glanced toward the kitchen, then at me, then at each other. My mother-in-law finally stood up, her movements sharp with barely concealed irritation. "Well, I suppose I'll start cleaning up," she announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I'll help," I said, starting to rise. No, she said, her voice tight. "You just relax for once." The guilt was immediate and crushing. This woman was in her 70s. She had hosted. She had cooked. And here I was, being selfish, being lazy, being everything I had been taught not to be. I jumped up and followed her to the kitchen, fell right back into the familiar routine. But Emma's question haunted me. Why was I always washing dishes? Why was this my job? When had I agreed to this? I realized I never had agreed to it. It had just happened, gradually, naturally, the way these things do. Early in my marriage, I had been eager to help, eager to contribute, eager to show what a good daughter-in-law I could be. And somehow, help had become expectation, expectation had become obligation, and obligation had become identity. I started documenting more than just missed moments. I documented the work. Every dish washed, every table wiped, every leftover packed. At Christmas, I counted 17 people at dinner. I washed dishes for 2.5 hours while everyone else opened presents, played games, and made memories. The real breaking point came at Easter, just 2 months after Emma's question. We were having dinner at my in-laws' house, the usual crowd of 20+ people. I had brought 3 side dishes, helped cook the ham, set the table, and served drinks. As always, when dinner ended, I automatically started collecting plates. But this time, Emma followed me into the kitchen. "Mommy, I want to help you so you don't miss everything again." My 8-year-old daughter was volunteering to do dishes so her mother wouldn't be alone. The injustice of it hit me like a physical blow. I was teaching my daughter that this was normal. That women clean up while men relax. That mothers sacrifice connection for cleanliness. That my place was in the kitchen, not with the family. I set down the plates I was holding and looked at my little girl. "You know what, Emma? The dishes can wait." "Really? Really? Let's go see what everyone's doing in the living room." We walked out together, leaving the dishes on the table. I sat on the couch next to my husband and pulled Emma onto my lap. For the first time in 15 years, I listened to my father-in-law's after-dinner stories from the beginning. I watched my nephew show off his new magic tricks. I participated in the conversation about summer vacation plans. It lasted about 20 minutes before my mother-in-law appeared in the doorway, her expression strained. "Lisa, I think the dishes are calling your name," she said with forced lightness. "They can wait," I said calmly. "I'm enjoying family time." The room went quiet. This was not how things worked. This was not my role. "Well," my sister-in-law Sarah said with a nervous laugh, "I suppose we should all pitch in." But nobody moved. They all looked at me like I had broken some sacred rule, violated some unspoken contract. The expectation hung heavy in the air. I would get up, apologize for my momentary selfishness, and return to my designated place in the kitchen. Instead, I stayed seated. "Don't let me stop anyone," I said. "I'm sure we can all clean up together after we finish visiting." My husband shifted uncomfortably beside me. Later, in the car, he would tell me I had embarrassed him. Made things awkward. Made his mother uncomfortable in her own home. But right then, I held my daughter close and listened to my nephew's story about his school play, and for the first time in 15 years, I didn't miss a single word. The next family gathering was my birthday dinner. I made a decision. I would attend, I would bring a dish as always, but I would not wash dishes. I would not clean up. I would enjoy my own birthday party. I told my husband my plan. He was horrified. "You can't just not help," he said. "What will my family think? They'll think I wanted to enjoy my birthday dinner with my family instead of standing alone in the kitchen." "But it's what you do," he said, as if this explained everything. "It's what I've been doing," I corrected. "It's not who I am." At the dinner, I did exactly what I said I would do. I ate my meal, I opened my presents, I visited with relatives, and I played with the kids. When dinner was over and people started the familiar dance of clearing the table, I remained seated. "Birthday girl doesn't clean up," I announced cheerfully. "House rules." My sister-in-law Sarah laughed, but it sounded forced. "Oh, you're so funny, Lisa. Come on, we'll make quick work of it." "No, thank you. I'm going to visit with my daughter." The silence was deafening. My mother-in-law's mouth was a thin line of disapproval. My husband looked like he wanted to disappear. But Emma climbed into my lap with a huge grin. "I get to talk to Mommy during the fun time," she whispered, and my heart both broke and soared. They cleaned up without me. It took longer than usual because they weren't used to the kitchen, didn't know where things went, had to work around each other. There was some grumbling, some pointed comments about leaving others to do the work, but they managed. And I got to be present for my own birthday. The real confrontation came a week later when my mother-in-law called. "Lisa, I think we need to talk," she said. "Your behavior at your birthday dinner was very concerning. I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but this attitude is affecting the whole family." "What attitude is that?" I asked. "This selfishness. This unwillingness to contribute. You used to be so helpful." "I brought 3 dishes to my own birthday dinner," I said calmly. "I spent 2 hours cooking beforehand. I'm still contributing. I'm just not doing dishes anymore." But you've always done dishes. It's your thing. Your thing. As if I had chosen this role, requested it, enjoyed it. It was never my thing, I said. I was just the only one doing it. Well, someone has to do it. Yes, I agreed. Someone does. Just not always the same someone. There was a long pause. Then, I'm very disappointed in you, Lisa. I thought you understood what family meant. That phrase haunted me for days. What family meant? Apparently, family meant I washed dishes while everyone else bonded. Family meant I missed moments so others could make memories. Family meant my contribution was cleaning up after other people's good times. I made a decision. I would host the next gathering at my house. Memorial Day weekend. I would cook, I would clean beforehand, I would set up everything perfectly. But after dinner, I would sit with my family and enjoy the conversation. The dishes would wait or others could help, but I would not disappear into the kitchen again. The dinner went beautifully. I made all of my husband's family's favorites, decorated the patio, created the perfect atmosphere. Everyone praised the food, the setting, the effort I had put in. When we finished eating, I stayed in my chair. Dishes? My mother-in-law asked pointedly. Later, I said. I want to hear about Jake's new job. My nephew launched into his story, and I listened to every word. I asked follow-up questions. I laughed at the funny parts. I was present, engaged, part of the conversation in a way I hadn't been in years. Meanwhile, the dishes sat on the table. People kept glancing at them, then at me. The unspoken expectation grew heavier with each passing minute. Finally, my sister-in-law Sarah stood up. Well, I guess I'll start cleaning up, she said with obvious martyrdom. Thank you, I said simply. That's very kind. She waited for me to join her. When I didn't, she looked genuinely confused. Aren't you going to help? I cooked and hosted, I said. I think I've contributed enough for one day. The gasps were audible. My mother-in-law's face flushed red. My husband kicked me under the table. But I didn't move. I can't believe you're going to sit there while Sarah does all the work, my mother-in-law said. I'm not making Sarah do anything, I replied calmly. She volunteered. And she doesn't have to do it alone. Anyone can help her. But nobody else moved. They all stared at me like I had committed an unforgivable sin. The woman who had cooked for 12 people, who had spent her day preparing and serving, was selfish for wanting to enjoy the company after dinner. Sarah started gathering plates with dramatic sighs. My mother-in-law joined her, making sure everyone could see how put upon they were. The guilt trip was intense and deliberate. This was my punishment for stepping out of line. Emma watched it all with wide eyes. Finally, she got up from her chair. I'll help Aunt Sarah, she said in her little voice. No, I said firmly. You sit back down. You're a child. This isn't your job. But someone has to help, Emma said, unconsciously echoing what she had heard her whole life. That's when it hit me. My 8-year-old daughter was already being trained to take responsibility for other people's messes. Already learning that women clean up while men relax. Already internalizing the lesson that putting others first was virtue, even when it meant sacrificing yourself. I stood up. You're right, I said. Someone does have to help. Michael. I looked at my husband. Your mother could use some help. He looked horrified. I don't know where anything goes. Then ask. Learn. Figure it out. But no buts. Your family, your mother's kitchen, your turn to help. He didn't move. None of the men moved. They sat there like I had suggested something unreasonable, impossible, beneath them. That's when I knew this wasn't about dishes. This was about respect. This was about value. This was about whose comfort mattered and whose sacrifice was expected. I walked into the kitchen where Sarah and my mother-in-law were washing dishes with pointed efficiency. Thank you both for helping, I said. Next time, let's all clean up together after we visit. That way nobody misses out on family time. My mother-in-law turned to face me, her eyes cold. Some people are more concerned with family time than with responsibility, she said. You're right, I agreed. I am more concerned with family time. That's why I'm not going to miss any more of it standing in a kitchen while life happens in the next room. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Phone calls between family members. Discussions about my attitude problem. Concerns about what kind of example I was setting for Emma. Suggestions that maybe I was going through something, having some kind of breakdown, needed to talk to someone about my anger issues. Anger issues. For wanting to spend time with my family at family gatherings. But I held firm. At every subsequent gathering, I participated in cleanup the same way everyone else did, not at all, or just enough to feel helpful without sacrificing my entire experience. I stayed in conversations. I listened to stories. I played with kids. I was present. The family adjusted slowly and reluctantly. Sometimes dishes got done, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes people helped, sometimes they complained. But I was no longer the automatic dishwasher, the designated cleaner, the woman who disappeared while life happened. The most telling moment came 6 months later at Christmas. We were at my in-laws' house again, and as usual, dinner ended with the familiar pile of dishes. But this time, something different happened. Emma looked around the table and said, "So who wants to help clean up? I think we should all do it together so nobody has to work alone." My 8-year-old daughter had learned a different lesson. Instead of accepting that one person should sacrifice for everyone else's comfort, she had learned that families work together. That everyone's time and presence has value. That sharing the work means sharing the joy. Several people volunteered. Not everyone, but enough. We cleaned up together, talking and laughing while we worked. When we finished, we all returned to the living room together. Nobody had missed the conversation. Nobody had been isolated with dirty dishes while memories were made. As I sat with Emma on my lap, listening to my father-in-law tell his stories, I felt something I hadn't felt in 15 years, like I belonged. Not as the helper, not as the cleaner, but as a member of the family whose presence mattered as much as anyone else's. Thank you so much for watching today's story on Revenge Chronicles. If you enjoyed this tale of finding your voice and claiming your worth, please subscribe to our channel for more empowering stories. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply refusing to accept less than you deserve. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. We'll see you in the next episode, and remember, your presence at the table matters just as much as your service in the kitchen.